A chance to meet Billie Eilish, away from the concerts, the screaming fans, the music videos. But what I saw that night, she didn't eat, she didn't blink right, she didn't breathe like a human should, she smiled like something wearing her face. And when she reached for my hand in that dark hallway, it felt like bone wrapped in cold skin. This isn't gossip. This is what followed me home. And the voice I still hear whispering through the vents at 3 a.m. If you've ever felt like someone close to you wasn't human, this is your story too. Some people wear masks to hide who they are. Others wear skin. For years, whispers surrounded Billie Eilish, the overnight fame, the dark aesthetic, the eyes that seem to look through you, not at you. But here's what no one talks about. Before the Grammys, before the sold-out stadiums, she went on one date with a man I know. Because it was me. I never told anyone. Not because I was afraid, because I didn't understand what I saw. That night, she didn't blink. She didn't breathe right. And when she smiled, it felt like something was stretching from the inside. I thought I imagined it. Until years later. Until I realized others had felt it too. And now, I'm warning you. This isn't about celebrity culture. It isn't about music. It's about whatever she really is. And the night she asked to be let in. I was 28, living in a studio apartment above a vintage record store in Silver Lake. I'd moved to LA from Seattle with a degree in audio engineering and a willingness to work for anyone who'd pay in cash or studio credits. Sound design was my lane. Vocal cleanup, frequency balancing, the stuff no one notices unless it goes wrong. I liked it that way. I didn't need the spotlight, just good monitors, a quiet room, and clients who didn't micromanage. I was what you'd call dependable. Quiet, good-looking in a safe way. Clean shoes, open doors, didn't try too hard. That kind of thing mattered in certain circles, especially if you knew how to blend without disappearing. That's probably why Marcus called me. Marcus was a mid-level A&R guy with connections to Interscope and a phone full of favors owed. He and I had worked on an indie album the year before, something that never charted, but gave him just enough credibility to throw weight around in artist circles. He called around 7 p.m. on a Thursday. "Got something for you," he said. "What kind of something?" "Dinner." "I just ate." "Not that kind of dinner." He said it like it was nothing, like he wasn't asking me to walk into a setup. "There's this artist. Rising star. Label wants to make sure she's adaptable." He didn't say more than that, but I understood. I was being sent to feel her out. Not romantically, not exactly. More like a vibe check. Could she do normal? Could she handle a straight date if the PR team needed it? Could she pass? "Just dinner, one night, you be you, tell me how it goes." I should have said no. But in this town, favors are currency. And Marcus had a long memory. The place was called Ophelia. No sign out front, just blacked-out windows and a velvet rope that made it look exclusive even when it was empty. I got there early, dressed in what I hoped looked like effortless effort. Black shirt, dark jeans, boots I only wore on special occasions. I sat near the back, watching condensation drip down my water glass when the hostess approached. "Your guest has arrived." She didn't say a name. Billie walked in like she owned gravity itself. Baggy black Gucci jacket, oversized chains hanging to her waist, green roots showing in platinum blonde hair. But it was her eyes. Those pale green, almost gray eyes that didn't seem to focus on anything specific. Just everything at once. She extended her hand. "You must be the sound guy." I laughed, thinking it was a joke, but her face didn't change. Her grip was firm. Too firm. Cold, like her skin had forgotten what temperature felt like. We sat. She didn't look at the menu. "I've already eaten," she said. I hadn't. A waiter came, asked if we wanted drinks. She said, "Water." Still, no ice. I said, "Same, but with ice." She gave me a look. Not annoyed, not judging, just noting. The silence between us wasn't awkward. It was calculated, like she was timing it. Then she smiled. It wasn't a big smile, just a soft curling of the lips. But her eyes, they didn't change. No crinkle, no warmth, just void. "You're cute," she said. "Thanks," I replied. That wasn't a compliment. I didn't know how to answer that, so I sipped my water. It tasted metallic. "You know," she said, "people think charisma is natural. It's not. It's surgery. It's technique. You learn to whisper at the right moment. Drop your shoulders. Touch the table. Touch them. Sing once, not twice. Never 3 times in a row. If they hear you sing 3 times, they think you're trying." I stared at her, not in awe, not even in confusion, just quiet disbelief. "And you?" she asked. "How many times have you smiled tonight?" I hadn't. She nodded like that was the right answer. We didn't talk about music or movies or family. She didn't ask what I didn't ask where I was from. She only asked one thing. "Do you think people would still love you if they knew what was inside?" I thought I misheard her. "Come again." "That thing you keep hidden." The truth under the nice smile. The ugly part. "Would they still clap for you?" My mouth went dry. She didn't blink. She hadn't blinked in minutes. There was something off about her skin. Not the color or texture, but the way it stretched across her face, as if it had been pressed on like latex and hadn't settled yet. At one point I shifted in my seat, leaned slightly left. She mirrored me. Exactly. Same lean, same arm position, but with a delay, like she was buffering. "Do you do this often?" I asked. "Dinner?" "Mirroring." She tilted her head. "It helps me learn the shape of things." That's when I noticed the twitch, just beneath her left eye, like a muscle spasm, but deeper, beneath the skin. Something pulling. She reached for her glass but didn't drink, just turned it clockwise. 3 times. I said I needed to use the restroom. When I stood, she touched my hand. It was brief. Just 2 fingers on the back of mine, but it felt like heat draining out. Not warmth, heat, like she'd siphoned it. As I walked away, I glanced in the mirror near the bar. She was still looking at me, not at my face, at my throat. "Let's get some air." She stood before I could respond. The street outside was quieter than I remembered. It had only been an hour since I walked in, but something had changed. The traffic was gone. No voices, no footsteps, no music spilling from passing cars, just the buzz of broken neon and the soft flicker of street lamps struggling to stay awake. Billie walked ahead of me. Not fast, but purposeful, like she knew exactly where she was going, like the sidewalk had already been measured to her stride. "I like this part of the night," she said over her shoulder, "when the world stops pretending." "Pretending what?" I asked. She didn't answer. We walked for several blocks in silence. I thought about calling it a night, about saying I was tired or had an early session, but my feet kept moving. I can't explain why. Something about the air, something about the way she moved. Fluid, controlled, like her limbs were trained choreography, not flesh and blood. I told myself I just wanted to be polite. That was a lie. I wanted to understand. "Do you believe in choice?" she asked suddenly. depends on the context. You made choices tonight. What to wear, how to speak, when to smile. But how many of those were really yours? She stopped walking. We stood beneath a street lamp that buzzed overhead like a fly stuck in glass. She turned to face me. People think they're individuals. They think they're unique, but they're just outcomes, a series of trained responses to whatever they fear the most. I didn't answer, and the ones who rise above it, the ones who get worshipped. She leaned in. They're the ones who learn to fear nothing, not shame, not death, not even God. She stepped back and smiled again, like she had just shared a secret recipe, a family heirloom, and she was proud I was allowed to hear it. You're uncomfortable, she said. I nodded. Why? Because this doesn't feel like a date, I replied. That's because it's not. We passed a darkened storefront. I glanced sideways, catching our reflections in the glass, and froze. Mine was there, hazy, but real. Hers wasn't quite right. It moved ahead of her, just by a second. Its posture was straighter. Its smile was wider. Its head tilted slightly, studying me. Not with curiosity, with possession, like it already knew what choice I would make. I blinked. The reflection snapped back into sync. She kept walking, unbothered. We turned a corner. A black Tesla waited by the curb. Flawless, polished. Not a single fingerprint on the surface. No tags, no scuffs. It looked less like a car and more like a showroom mock-up. Something you could look at, but not touch. She pressed her thumb to the driver's side door. It clicked open with no sound. She moved to the passenger side and opened it with a flat motion, like she'd done it thousands of times without ever needing to learn how. I'll take you home, she said. Her voice was still gentle, measured, but it echoed too clearly in my ears, like the words were already waiting for me in my own head before she spoke them. I stared at the seat. The leather was pale, not off-white, pale. It didn't look used. It didn't look lived in. It looked raw, like something meant to appear human, something that had learned how people sat, but not why. My pulse picked up. I wanted to say no. Every part of me screamed to walk, to fake a phone call, to run if I had to. But I stood there, caught in that space between logic and politeness, between fear and the need to not offend whatever she was. I can walk, I said. She tilted her head, eyes soft. It's late, she said. You shouldn't be alone. She didn't say it like a warning. She said it like a guarantee. I hesitated. Then I got in. The door shut with a whisper. The locks clicked by themselves. There was no engine sound, no dashboard light, no hum of the radio. Only silence. She sat behind the wheel, both hands resting gently. Still. Then slowly she turned her head to look at me. That same smile. Subtle. Satisfied. The kind of smile that didn't ask permission because it already knew the answer. I sat in silence. Streetlights glided past the windows, washing Billie's face in brief pulses of yellow and shadow. Her hands sat gently on the wheel. 10 and 2. Her shoulders relaxed, her expression calm. There was something too fluid about her posture, like her body had forgotten how to hold tension. She hadn't said a word since pulling off the curb. I didn't either. The air inside the car was too still, like a sealed jar. And then she spoke. You know what I've always wanted. She didn't wait for an answer. One day, I want to stand in front of a crowd and be exactly who I am. Her voice was soft, like she was remembering a dream. No smile, no performance, no shaping myself to what they expect. Just me. And they'll love it. They'll scream. They'll worship. She gripped the wheel tighter. Her nails tapped the leather. Because deep down, I think they've always known. I shifted slightly in my seat. The seatbelt scraped across my chest like dry skin. Known what? I asked. She smiled at the road. That this? She tapped her chest. Was always the truth, and everything else was the costume. The car began to speed up. Slowly, almost imperceptibly. The street lights started stretching longer in the windows. The hum beneath the car deepened. A soft vibration crept into the floorboards. I glanced at the dashboard. No speed reading, no glowing dials. Just black. She didn't seem to notice. I used to think I had to hide, she said, that if I showed them the whole thing, they'd scream. Run. Burn me at the stake. You know, the usual reactions. We took a turn too fast. My body leaned with the momentum. No signal, no brake lights. The tires didn't squeal, just gripped the road with unnatural precision. But lately I've been wondering, what if they don't run? What if they cheer? What if they were always waiting for someone like me to tell them it's okay? Her voice didn't rise, but something about it tightened. A grip, a thread pulling taut in the air. And when they cheer, I'll be free. The car kept accelerating. We passed through an intersection without slowing. The lights above us were green, or at least I think they were. It happened too fast to be sure. My fingers curled around the door handle. "Do you believe in fate?" she asked, eyes still forward. "What?" "Fate," she repeated, "that there's a script already written, and some of us just memorize it better than others." I looked ahead, another intersection. This one was red. We were flying toward it. "Slow down," I said. "Don't worry," she whispered. "We're just passing through." The light grew larger in the windshield. A red slash. Empty intersection. She didn't touch the brakes. "Do you believe in fate?" she asked again. I closed my eyes. I didn't want to see it happen. I braced for the sound of impact, of metal folding in, of glass breaking like bone. Instead, silence. Then a soft whoosh of air, the gentle glide of tires on pavement. I opened my eyes. We were through. Nothing had happened. I looked over at her. She hadn't even blinked. I didn't speak for the rest of the ride. I couldn't. My brain was trying to make sense of something that didn't belong in the world I understood. She didn't press, just drove calmly through the thinning city blocks until we pulled onto my street. The car slowed. The motion of it felt unnatural now, like it was pretending to obey the laws of physics. We stopped in front of my building. The engine didn't shut off because, as far as I could tell, it had never turned on. I unbuckled my seatbelt. My hand shook slightly as I reached for the door. "Would you mind if I came up?" she asked. Voice still gentle. I paused. "I don't think that's a good idea." She turned toward me. Finally. Her face was soft. Not disappointed. Not angry. Just calm. "I wanted to be subtle," she said, "but I really do need to use the bathroom." She tilted her head, almost apologetic. "Didn't want to make a mess in your car." The way she said it. In your car. Like this wasn't hers. Like none of this was. I hesitated. Something inside me, whatever part that still listened to instinct, screamed. But my mouth said something else. "Yeah, okay." We climbed the stairs in silence. The hallway light above us flickered, humming with the kind of cheap electrical buzz that always made me feel like the walls were listening. The stairwell felt tighter than usual, like the walls had shifted inward, Like the building itself didn't want this moment to happen. Each step groaned under our feet. Mine felt heavy, hers too light. She moved with perfect rhythm. No breath, no tension in her joints, just grace, like her body wasn't built to tire. Halfway up, she reached for my hand. I didn't see her move. I just felt it. Her fingers brushed mine, slow and deliberate, curling inward like vines. It was the wrong temperature, bone dry, cold, no skin texture, no softness. It felt like bone. My entire body flinched, not visibly. I forced myself to stay composed, but every muscle in my back stiffened. My lungs forgot how to take in air. My stomach dropped like I just missed a step that wasn't there. The second her fingers touched mine, it was like someone had dumped ice water down my spine. Not just cold, old. I pulled my hand away as gently as I could. She didn't react, just kept walking, as if it was a formality, as if holding hands was just part of the show. We reached my floor. I walked a few steps ahead. I had to. I needed to feel the space between us. But I could hear her, not her footsteps. I couldn't hear those. I heard her presence. That's the only way I can explain it. Like a pressure in the hallway behind me. Like the air was making room for something it didn't understand. I reached my apartment door, key already in hand, and unlocked it fast. My body was in survival mode now, but I was still trying to be polite, still trying to follow the script. I stepped inside, turned, and saw her framed in the hallway. She looked content, like she'd made it to the final act. "I don't think this is a good idea," I said. "You should leave." She didn't blink, didn't move, just stood there looking at me like I hadn't spoken at all. I took a deep breath, my hand on the knob, and slammed the door. The sound echoed down the hall. Silence. My hand hovered near the lock. It was already engaged, but I didn't trust it. I braced myself against the door just in case. Then from the other side, a voice. Not loud, not angry, just low, almost childlike. "Let me in." It wasn't a request, it wasn't a threat. It was a knowing, the kind of voice that's already standing inside your mind before you ever hear it. Then nothing. A silence so deep it made my heartbeat sound like thunder. And just when I started to breathe, boom! A thud hit the door so hard it knocked me backwards. I hit the floor, hands scrambling at the hardwood. My ears rang. The entire frame shuddered. I scrambled to my feet and ran to the peephole. At first, I didn't see anything, but then something moved. A black shape, right at the edge of the lens. It stepped forward. Not her, something else. Tall. Too tall. No face, no edges, just a void in the shape of a person. Like darkness had been poured into a mold and left to stand. I stumbled back, hand over my mouth. A second later, I looked again. Gone. The hallway was empty. I didn't sleep that night, didn't turn off the lights, didn't sit down. I just packed, threw everything I could into 2 bags and called a car. I left the next morning. I didn't tell anyone. No goodbyes, no explanations. Just a one-way flight to the other side of the country. I changed apartments, got a place with no windows facing the street. I started using cash. I kept my head down, and I never heard from her again. That was 3 years ago. I tried to forget it. Told myself it was just a date gone wrong. A misunderstanding. A breakdown of chemistry and nerves. But then I started seeing her everywhere. On magazine covers, award shows, streaming platforms. And every time I saw it, that thing beneath her skin. The way her eyes didn't quite focus. The way her smile stretched just a little too far. Maybe I was just the trial run. Maybe I was the first no she'd ever heard. Or maybe I wasn't even that. Just a vessel that didn't take. But now I want to know something. Because if I saw that thing standing outside my door, what do you think it would have looked like to you?